Alright, I keep talking about some shutters and matrices. Like, the fuck's that? Do I even have this shit in my camera? You're probably wondering because you're an idiot. But don't worry, let me explain. So, let's start from a lens, right? If we would cut our camera perfectly in half, you would have like different types of lenses in there, focusing light in different ways. So, this will be our lens. And yeah, lens is just basically plastic or metal tube filled with glass lenses. So here we have some glassy things. And you know what? I'm gonna scribble the name or the short that you'll probably know. SLR or now DSLR or DSLM. So this one is mirrorless, basically. So we don't give a fuck about that one. What we want to look at is the SLR part of these two. That shortcut stands for single lens reflex. And D here stands for digital. So we have single lens reflex cameras and digital single lens reflex cameras. So we have the lens part, right? What about reflex? The fuck that even means? Reflex stands from reflecting light. So in here we have something called prism. And the prism reflects light so you can see everything in the viewfinder. So your light first goes through the lens, gets bent a bunch of times like this, right? Then it goes to here. What do we have here? Another glass piece, a mirror. So our light gets bounced out inside the prism. Then it finds its way through the viewfinder so you perfectly see what your lens sees. So there's no parallax. What's that? I'm gonna be probably explaining that in a lens video. But as you can see, the reflecting is happening all inside your camera, right? But now where is your film or matrix sits at? It sits behind the mirror. So when you click and you hear this like clicking sound, shutter sound, you actually hear the mirror just lifting up and letting light through directly on the matrix. So as you might probably figure, it's like it can't live forever because there are moving parts inside your camera that lift it up and out all the time. And also, if you're like taking longer exposures, take breaks. So for example, if your exposure is like 30 minutes because you're shooting like all night, then do like, I don't know, 7 minutes pause in between pictures, because when it's lifted, this shit gets heated up. And if it gets heated up, then it's prone to fail. Also, don't be shooting this all the time like an idiot. Matrix or film. But wait, where's the shutter though? You may ask. So you see, leaf shutter was fucking stupid because it was inside the lens, like fucking here, let's jam it, whatever. So we don't do that anymore. This shutter thingy sits right here. So the mirror in digital lifts up and the shutter opens up for the amount of time you set it up. So 160 will be 1/60th of a second. So it's like really, really speedy. So that will be our shutter. You also have like bunch of stuff because you usually have like this condenser lens in here, which condenses the light, as you may assume, so it helps out like sharpening the shit out. You also usually have like this tiny little circle next to your viewfinder with like plus and minus that you can rotate, and that usually moves the glass piece in the viewfinder back and forth so it can sharpen. So it works exactly like the lenses inside the lanes. And like sometimes if you're too close, you have to move your head backwards so your eyes do this basically. And also nowadays there are some digital viewfinders. Digital viewfinders are shit. Don't use them. They're like, there's a screen here, so you have like fucking another screen inside your camera, and no, it's not good. Better to use optics because they will always be visible directly as you would see it through your own eyes. Oh shit, I almost forgot about one other thing that we also have, like usually somewhere here. This is also like focusing screen that helps focus the picture. Mirrorless cameras, they just don't have the mirror part. The light just goes straight onto the shutter and then onto the matrix. So guess when first digital sensor came out? 1969. Nice. So when Willard Boyle and George Smith invented CCD, charged coupled device, which was basically first digital sensor. Then in 1975, Stephen Sasson, engineer from a small company called Kodak, invented the first digital still camera that was able to carry 100 by 100 pixel matrix. So yeah, it beast pretty much. Then in 1988, Nikon released first DSLR camera, the QV1000C. I know, catchy name, which had whopping 38,000 pixels, which translated to megapixels, it's point 0.3 megapixels. So yeah. And nowadays talk, not that impressive, but in just sheer pixels, damn, I bet I got you for a moment there. So then the next was like early 2000s when the DSLRs just like took over and pushed the film out of commercial use, which was also funny time for Kodak because you see Kodak till 2000s they were like the biggest camera company. They were making everything, films, cameras, for photographers, for videographers. Like they were inventing shit. Half of the things we have in photography nowadays is invented by Kodak. Like you're gonna see how much shit they've invented. And it's amazing how they tanked company basically to zero because they refused to change. And they're like, no, what the fuck is this digital nonsense? We're not gonna invest in this digital nonsense. Despite them having one of the earliest digital technologies there because they had great engineers, but they turned the idiots down because selling film was too goddamn profitable to create cameras that don't need it. So there you go. Choke, you greedy fucks. I love me stories like that. So now let's talk about the sensor sizes. Those are both for DSLR and mirrorless systems, both of which are based off of film. So we have APS-C, which stands for Advanced Photo System Type C, which has 370 square millimeters, and this Type C stands for Classic because it refers to a classic small format, which is basically 25.1 by 16.7 millimeters. And the classic classic aspect ratio 3:2 and 31.15 millimeters in diameter. And it all, of course, depends on the manufacturer and the technology used, because nowadays they be calling everything, and 1-inch sensor aren't even 1 inch, no matter how you fucking look at it. But what are the advantages of such small system? So basically overall sharpness. And before y'all gonna be like, but the full frame has more pixels and shit, shut the fuck up. I speak from sheer infinite sharpness, like infinite points, you know what I mean? That means you can have everything sharp. So no pretty bokeh, but you can pull up some fucking HDR and shit. It's definitely faster with processing as the files are smaller, which nowadays we have to look at this shit as well. What are the drawbacks? Well, not good in bad light. And ISO on this shit sucks, and like night photography and evening photography on APS-C don't fucking exist. But now, let's move to full frame. So this one is 35 millimeter sensor, which it's exactly like 35 millimeter small frame, which both are 36 by 24 millimeters, which pisses me off. Like, the fuck? But okay, this one, better bokeh. If you want the most beautiful bokeh on earth, you better get yourself a full frame. If you portrait photographer, full frame. Fucking family or shit like this, full frame. Of course, full frame is versatile, but I don't know. I think it's overpriced in most of the cases. It has a bigger sensor, which means more light, so better work in the dark environments. So full frame gobbles no light without any problems. And these can be slower at processing as they are way bigger as files. So they will also take up way more space per picture than APS-C. So, and this one in size, it's 868 square square millimeters. So if we compare the sizes, then you can see like the difference, right? Because we would have like APS-C, let's say, would be more something like this, right? But full frame would be more like this, right? I'm eyeballing here, so it's not perfect maths or anything. But since we got these out of the way and you know where everything's placed in the camera, we can start moving to the lens part. But that's gonna be in the next episode, and I'll hope YouTube will recommend you next one, not the fucking previous one, or like 2 or 3 in the future. I don't know, it pisses me off when YouTube does this. You can subscribe and leave a like if that shit also does piss you off. YouTube, fucking fix it. Oh, you know what? Better leave a comment. Do you want to hear a joke?